I'm very pro animal products, but I think like as an adjunct, I think it's fruits and vegetables. We have lots and lots of meta-analyses at this point showing that they improve health. I'm not saying that everybody needs to eat copious fruits and vegetables. It's still it still comes down to individual tolerance, preference, and all that stuff.
Now I know why you have enemies in the
Both sides.
plant-based community and the animal-based communities, because you're saying both are okay and both have their place.
Hey, Hilda here. I bring you experts' experiences and epic adventures to boost your health. I had to fight Max Lugavere at Paleo Effects because I heard he was down on lard, cows, and butter. And I was like, oh, no, this is not gonna go down on my watch. I'm joking around, but honestly, I wanted to challenge him on the way he thinks of these natural foods and animals. And the truth is, I came away kind of challenged too. Check out our conversation.
Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like we have so much in common. I also love cold plunging. I honor my sleep and wear a little sleep tracker now and then. And we both are about nutrient density. But you are in favor of a lot more plant-based stuff. And you call those foods nutrient dense. I challenge you today to defend mushrooms, for example.
It's funny hearing you say that because the plant-based community hates me for some reason.
They do?
Yeah. It's because I very passionately promote animal products as well. I promote both. I feel like I have a pretty balanced view here. But okay, so
I'm not so sure.
Okay, so let's just start out by saying I'm definitely Weston A. Price carnivore adjacent. Like I recognize the nutrient density and value of animal products. I absolutely do. But I think vegetables can be great, and they are still nutrient dense. And they achieve this because they're very calorie sparse. They don't have a lot of calories.
Right. But how can you say they're nutrient dense? There's hardly anything to them.
Well, they're not. They don't have. It's not the essential nutrients necessarily.
Not at all.
Right. Although magnesium.
Wait, he agreed with me there.
Yeah. It is difficult to find magnesium, which is an important mineral, right, in animal foods. Which is a thing, right? That's like a non-trivial data point, but it's not necessarily the essential nutrients that that I'm worried about. It's certain phytochemicals like pigments in particular that I think the evidence does show boosts health, whether it's eye health, neural health, brain health, cognitive function. Lutein and zeaxanthin, you won't find a better source than fresh produce. Dietary nitrates, really good for blood pressure. Really abundant in dark leafy greens and things like that.
But it's not like our ancestors had these little vegetable gardens. There's no picture on the cave walls of people planting seeds. Do you know what I'm saying? Is there a picture of them hunting, like the Paleo logo, like this?
I agree. But they also they probably didn't know. They didn't know that certain berries, for example, had anthocyanins, which research shows can accumulate in the memory center of the brain, the hippocampus, and reduce cognitive aging.
No, they didn't know. But berries you could just pick off a tree.
Yeah.
That's different than like carrots and potatoes, and I don't know that they just have those growing around. You know what I mean?
That's fair. But, I mean, also, like, starch can be a performance-enhancing tool for people that are on resistance training regimens. I'm very pro animal products, but I think like as an adjunct, I think it's fruits and vegetables. We have lots and lots of meta-analyses at this point showing that they improve health. I'm not saying that everybody needs to eat copious fruits and vegetables. It still comes down to individual tolerance, preference, and all that stuff. But I do think that they can play a supportive role. I also think that we need to get cancel the fear that people have around animal products as well.
Yeah. Now I know why you have enemies in the
both sides
plant-based community and the animal-based communities, because you're saying both are okay and both have their place.
Right. If every food, in my view, has a risk and a benefit, right? Like there's risk and benefit to each food, and that varies that ratio. And analysis has to be done person to person because everybody's different.
I agree 100%. You and I can't eat the same diet. We're
Right.
two different people, two
Right.
different ethnicities, ages, the whole shebang.
Right.
I'm a lot stronger than you, so.
You are. You got guns, girl. Holistic Hilda. That's my grandma's name, by the way.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
But wait, okay, I do want to challenge you on one final point. And notice that the crowds drown you out whenever you start talking. I'm just saying. But anyway.
Yeah, that's on purpose.
Exactly. I'm
Paying
like,
them?
come by whenever he says something. No. This is my question about lard. I do believe that our bodies need saturated fats, particularly those that come from animal products, because they include vitamin D. They're good for cholesterol, healthy cholesterol levels, for brain function, for the whole shebang. What do you think about lard?
I generally cook with oils and fats that are predominantly monounsaturated because I find that they're the best from a cardiovascular standpoint. They're more saturated than polyunsaturated fats, so they're highly prone to oxidation, and they're minimally processed. So extra virgin olive oil is made by crushing olives, and I do think that people vary in their I guess we'll just say tolerance to saturated fat. Like my ancestry. No, I'm not anti-saturated fat.
I know, I'm just being funny because these people are talking, so I'm like, come on.
Yeah. When using like an isolated fat, like tallow or lard, for example, I think there's really no benefit to using those fats other than the fact that they are very chemically stable. They're going to be the most chemically stable for high heat temperatures. But I also don't, I don't think that there's. I do think there are potential negatives to using them for certain populations. People that are prone to hypercholesterolemia, for example, which I'm not like in the anti-cholesterol camp by any stretch, but I do think that you can purposelessly be driving your LDL levels up when you overuse those kinds of fats. Whereas, and going back to risk-benefit, the benefits of eating red meat, for example, outweigh any risks because you're getting a very nutrient-dense food, pristine protein, highly bioavailable micronutrients and minerals, zinc, B12, etc. And so whatever saturated fat you're ingesting with that, I think, is inconsequential, and ultimately, the benefits are going to outweigh the risks.
What's interesting is I feel like you've got some good points.
Yeah.
But I also agree in bio-individuality.
Yes.
So while I think lard is amazing, tallow is amazing, I get your point that some people their bodies might not respond well to those things, and so they need to approach it with what serves them best.
Well, also, think about the fact that when you feed a cow is a man-made creation, right? Like cows are the result of animal husbandry and an ultimate product of the agricultural revolution, right? The first agricultural revolution. They're much fattier animals than wild game, right? And when you feed a cow an aberrant diet, it has higher levels of fat and it has higher levels of saturated fat, right? And it has lower levels of stearic acid. It has an aberrant fatty acid profile because it's been fed a more aberrant diet, right? When you feed a cow its biologically appropriate diet of grass, it actually has lower levels of saturated fat, which to me is a sign. It's not the sign, but it is an important data point that I use to reference how the relative ratio of saturated fatty acids that we are meant to ingest, right? Like if a cow being fed a shitty diet has higher levels of saturated fat, then maybe that's not what we're meant to consume, right?
Right.
We're not meant to consume cows from the factory farm system. We're meant to consume animals that are eating their biologically appropriate diet, right? A free-range chicken is going to be leaner than a chicken from the factory farm system.
Yes, if we eat a diet that isn't in keeping with what our bodies need, whether we're animals, and actually people are animals, but whether we're cattle or whether we're people, we will develop more fat. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't prize fat, which our ancestors did. They prized the fat. They would sometimes throw away the lean pieces of meat,
Yeah, but they also lived in a world of food scarcity, and ultimately, I think this is all moot when you focus your diet around natural foods, whole foods, right? Like, we can look at butter. Butter actually raises LDL, but cream doesn't, right? Butter is a man-made food. Cream isn't, right? And so it's because of the milk-fat globule membrane. We know that the triglycerides in dairy fat are protected or bound by this complex of proteins and phospholipids, which affect how we respond to those fats, right? And so I think ultimately if we eat foods found in their most natural state, I think it's not going to be a problem for anybody. But it's the fact that we've lost all sense of time and place. You know, there's huge genetic, like, you know, cross-pollination that's occurred over the past, 100,000 years, and so it's leading many of us to consume diets that aren't necessarily ancestrally consistent, right?
Right, I know what you mean.
Weston Price was studying people who were eating their ancestrally consistent diets because they were hunter-gatherers.
And they were exactly where they were born and raised and where their ancestors were born and raised. Whereas now you have someone from Switzerland living in Mexico and someone from Mexico living in Canada, so everything is all mixed up.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
my ancestors wouldn't have freaking known what a coconut was, right? Growing up, coming from Northern Eastern Europe, which is where my genetic lineage comes from. So should I be expected then to respond well to lots and lots of coconut oil, which I know is big in the wellness world? People are putting coconut
Or
oil
coconut
in their
water,
smoothies.
right? Should you be
Yeah.
drinking that when you're in a northern
knows?
latitude? Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm not saying that I know, but
Right.
I think these are all important questions, right?
They are great questions. And I'm mad at you now, Max, because I agree with you. It's a bunch of things. So we're going to have to be friends now.
Truth?
Yes, truth.
Really nice meeting you.
Nice
Holistic
meeting
Hilda.
you too, Max
Yes.
Lugavere.
Thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know who else I should have on the show. Click on the notification bell so you can find out every time I post a video. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And hasta pronto.